Okay, is everything ready? I think it is. That's turned off, that's turned off. That's turned off. That apparently is turned on. The stream appears to be live. I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get this started then, because we're gonna have fun today. Hello, Shadowcat back! We're back to the tabletop module. We're back to Warhammer 40k. We're back to Psykers. And, oh boy. I'm kind of in my element here. So, when it comes to like game design and stuff, there's a lot of different aspects to it. There's character design, there's setting design, there's system design. There's a lot of things that go into game development. And just like I've mentioned before, that every DM has their own specialty, whether it is storytelling, whether it is world building, whether it's improvisation, you know, things like that. There's different things that everyone is good at when it comes to game development. And for me, system development is my jam. This is what I do. It's what I'm good at. And so making the Psyker system, this is kind of my thing. This is where I really just kind of, I get my chance to shine. Let me go ahead and pop out the chat here so I can actually see it. Because I do see that there are people in the chat. I see JP is in the chat. Hello, JP. Good to see you. I see Bliss is also in the chat. Hello. Good to see you, too. So, last time we were here, we spent a good deal amount of time working on Psykers, learning what they are, more educating ourselves on what they are. We already knew what they were at a basic level, but now we're getting into the real nitty-gritty. We refined our system for determining who's a Psyker, and we are going to continue that today. I've made a few adjustments from last week to this week, and I think it's much, much better now. So we're going to take a look at that. And then we're going to work on filling things. We're going to work on filling things in. And JP says, my sister's in the hurricane evacuation zone, but we are 6th generation Floridians. She's been starting her hurricane party instead of leaving. Typical for my family. Yeah, I was kind of wondering. I know a few other people online who are in Florida, and I've been asking them how they're doing, whether they're in the warpath for, I think it's Debbie. I think it's Debbie's warpath this time. But I haven't gotten any answers back. I assume that everyone's going to be fine. I mean, if you're living in Florida, you either have a death wish, which explains why everyone retires there, or, I mean, this is just life. I mean, for my part, I find thunderstorms terrifying. I really do. I don't like lightning. I don't like thunder. And I mean, when I was younger, I didn't have as much of a problem with them. But as my eyesight has kind of deteriorated, as my ears have gotten sharper, I don't do thunder well. I don't do loud noises well in general. I don't like thunder. When I was going through anatomy and physiology and learning, you know, medicine, because I wanted to go into medicine. I wanted to do microbiology and work on things like that. I want to do things like, you know, vaccines and medications and stuff like that. That didn't really last that long because I found out that I actually, I can't do blood. I'm not hemophobic, but at the same time, when I realized, when I learned that even healthy blood can be fatal, I was kind of like, you know what? I don't want any part of this. And by saying, you know, real blood can be fatal, there's things like Rh factors, antibodies, things like that, where if you were to just put somebody else's blood into your blood without matching for type, you will get what's called blood poisoning, and it can kill you. So, yeah, don't even worry about things like hepatitis, don't worry about HIV, or anything like that. If you just get a normal person's blood of the wrong blood type, it can kill you. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Blood is dangerous. I don't want any part of this. However, one of the few things that I did learn is when I was going through, you know, the lessons on the pulmonary system and the cardiopulmonary system. I learned about the heart, and I learned how the heart works, how its little internal pacemaker works, how it's controlled by the brain, or even sometimes not controlled by the brain because it kind of has its own little brain in there, and how just the slightest amount of current across the heart, we're talking 1/1000th of an amp, if it were to hit that little pacemaker, can stop your heart. 1/1000th of an amp. I don't know if you realize this, but like if you shuffle your feet across the floor and like touch a doorknob, you hear that little zap and you feel the spark. That spark is a massive amount of power, really high voltage, and a decent amount of amperage too. That's why it hurts. And that could technically stop your heart if you could get it to your heart. Now, that you can't. However, if you work with electricity, that absolutely can, and so I stopped doing that entirely, and I ended up developing kind of a phobia to lightning. And it is absolutely a phobia. I mean, the definition of a phobia is an irrational fear of something. My fear towards electricity, of all forms, is irrational. But that doesn't mean that it's still not there. So, like, I don't do storms in general. And tornadoes are even more terrifying. Because, like, I have said it before. I may not be religious, but the sky and the land were separated for a reason. Because when the sky and the land touch, something is getting destroyed. Okay? Obviously, God separated these things for a reason. And so whenever they touch, you get a tornado, and something's getting wiped out. And then I moved into Texas. And I was literally living in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which is not the middle of Tornado Alley, but it's still pretty far into it. And after living there for roughly a decade, you get over it. Like, the first few times I heard the tornado sirens go off, I was absolutely diving for cover. However, I mean, after your first 5 false alarms, because there might have been a tornado, there might not have been, or it might have been way over there, eventually you just kind of stop caring. To the point where I was literally out working, I was on one side of a highway. When I heard the sirens go off, I took shelter like everyone else did. However, after, 10, 15 minutes of nothing happening, I'm just like, alright, I'm going back to work. It's like, you haven't been cleared yet. It's like, don't care, going back to work. I caught an overpass, crossed over to the other side of the highway, came down the service road. That's where the tornado was. It was about a quarter of a mile away from where I was taking shelter. And I was kind of like, oh, well, that could have been inconvenient. You get used to it. And I have to imagine that's what it's like in Florida. Like, if you move to Florida, you get, like, at a minimum, 1 hurricane per year. And with a tornado, I mean, the tornado comes down, it does its damage along this track, and that's it. And the odds of you actually being in that track are, like, super small. With a hurricane, like, the hurricane essentially is its own environment, okay? A tornado might last for a few minutes, it might last for an hour or so tops. Like, some of the most damaging tornadoes in history have only really gone for an hour or an hour and a half, and then they were gone. And, like, those are the big ones. Those are the notable ones that, like, if you're a meteorologist, these are the names you remember. Hurricanes, on the other hand, I mean, if there's a hurricane coming, this is going to be your next few weeks. Because there's the storm surge that's going to come in ahead of the storm, and that's going to do its damage. And then the hurricane itself is going to come through, and depending on how quickly that's going, that could pass you in a few days. Or if it's just kind of lollygagging around, that could take over a week to get through you. Which means that your next week is going to be lived inside of the hurricane. So, I gotta imagine, like, if you live in Florida, number one, you're either expecting this, Or number 2, this is old hat for you, and you're just kind of like, alright, board up the windows, pile sandbags in front of the doors. It's another hurricane, we're gonna wait it out. Which it's like JP is saying, hurricane party. It's not the first time I've heard the term. I still find the term a little wild, but there you go. And JPL says it's the storm surge flooding that's going to be an issue with this one. It's generally a smaller storm. Well, I mean, smaller storm would be smaller storm surge, wouldn't it? I don't know. I don't know that much about hurricanes. All I know is I'm not getting in the warpath of one of them. I like Florida. I could not live under the shadow of hurricanes, though. I couldn't do it. That's for braver people than I am. Speaking of brave people, though, we should probably get to work on this, because if we're going to be playing Psykers, it's going to require a certain amount of bravery, so why don't we go ahead and get everything turned on. The first thing we're going to need is our spreadsheet. That's not my spreadsheet, that's the browser. There's the spreadsheet. Okay. And we'll take a look at the changes that I've made. So, between last time and this time, last week, this week, I made some changes to the Psyker. I don't even know what to call this. I just call it Psyker Chance right now. I need a better name for it. The Psyker Probability System. I don't know. So before, it was and I tried to weight it better last time. But before, it was a 1D 256 roll, which I was actually kind of flattered by because I love 256 as a number. Technically 255, but if you're at all a veteran of programming, then that's a special number for you. So that was what I had originally, and that was completely coincidental. I've redone it, though, because I went to ChatGPT to get a little bit of help on working on this, and ChatGPT was no help at all. However, just having something to kind of bounce ideas off of helped me redo the system, and I like it much, much better now. So, here's what we've got now. Now, according to the lore of Warhammer, the odds of somebody being a Psyker are really slim. Like, there's only one Psyker born in every million people. And so that's a really small number already. Really small, but you have to realize that 1 in a million actually happens a lot. Like, if 1 in a million people were going to be Psykers, then that means that New York City would have, I don't even know. What's the population of New York City? Hold on. Let me just Google this real quick. New York City population. The population of New York City as of 2022 is 8.336 million. So, if we were counting psychics in New York City, there'd be 8 of them. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but when we remember what Psykers can do, I mean, consider the consequences of that. Now, of all Psykers, there is also a decreasing amount of power in them. Like, 1 out of every million people will be a Psyker. But like 1 out of every billion Psykers will be Alpha. Because it's just that incredibly rare. And so there's a greatly diminishing return here when it comes to Psykers. So I had to redo things a little bit because I didn't like the way they were. And I think we've got something better here. Also, I see Jeffrey is in the chat. Hello, Jeffrey. It's good to see you. We missed you in the last tabletop game. You missed a lot of stuff. You really need to get together with your party and find out what you missed. Because you got some learning to do. So I've redone the Psyker system, and you can see here, I've recalculated all the percentages, and I think these are really good. The way this is going to work is it's not perfectly accurate, but it doesn't need to be, because as you're a player character, you're already kind of special. I mean, this is really what being a player character means. I mean, you're already stronger, faster, tougher than the average person. And so it makes sense that you're already going to be more psychically sensitive than the normal person too. Which is why we're sitting here at an 85.2% chance that your player character is still going to have negligible psychic ability. Okay? It's not a great chance. But it's still a chance, and for what it's worth, even if you have 1 level of psychic sensitivity, it's better than nothing. After that, it goes down rather sharply. So, as we pointed out, let me switch back to this so we can go over the not the psychic disciplines, but the psychic levels. Yeah, here we go. So we're looking at the Kappa through Omicron. Which is these. So Kappa through Omicron at this grade of the assignment, which includes Omicron through Kappa, these individuals display an unconscious and minor level of psychic brain activity. These abilities produce no truly noticeable effects on the individual or the surroundings, and most Psykers of this grade are unaware of their status unless put to a full examination by an expert skilled in discerning psychic abilities. So, yeah. As the danger such individuals represent to humanity is minimal, Psykers of this grade generally never even learn that they possess psychic abilities at all. And that is, you know, if we add these guys into the yellow, we're over 90% of characters who are just basically not going to have really anything that they know how to do. The difference is that you, as a player character, will know what you can do. And so you'll be able to actually flex that psychic muscle. Even though it's really kind of insignificant. And we'll get to exactly how insignificant this is a little bit later. So yeah, we're talking about a 90% chance of having very little effect of anything. And then once you get into the other ones, it's a very slight chance. But if you manage to land in that area, it's going to be really exciting. So, how exciting is this going to be? I'm still working on how many times per day people can do this. Right now, we have it set as it is your sensitivity times your character level, and I'm not sure how dedicated I'm going to be to that, but I feel like I do like it. That means that, like, for example, I was just rolling numbers, and I rolled randomly and got a 95. That would be a Z. Psychic sensitivity level is 3. That means that, according to this, they could use 3 psychic powers a day. Which is fine, I guess. And at level 2, that would be 6. At level 3, it would be 9. And it's getting kinda... I don't know. That means that by the time you hit level 20, you would be able to use it 60 times per day. Although whether or not you'd want to, I guess really it's to be determined, because with a psychic sensitivity of 3, I don't know. So then we move on to how do we actually use psychic powers. And I've determined that using psychic powers is going to be a roll of your sensitivity times whatever dice you get to use. So at levels 1 through 4, you're rolling d4s, 5 through 8, d6s, and so on. And I kind of like this system. I think that in terms of damage, this is going to be fine, because that means that if you were a Z-type Psyker, if you wanted to just fire like a line of fire out of your hands, well, that means that you could fire this line and you could reach, say, maybe 3 squares, and you'd be rolling 3d4 worth of damage. 3d4 is not bad at level 1, but at the same time, it's not great either. As opposed to if you were like an alpha level Psyker, you could roll up to 16 dice, and that would be significant. That'd be very significant. However, there's also consequences of this. So, the big risk for anyone using the warp, any Psyker, is that the warp is inherently dangerous to people. To everything, really, but especially to living beings. And so, I was looking for consequences. And the consequences that we have now are still unchanged from the last time. With maybe one exception that I might need to add, and that would be... How do I even phrase this? Transposition? I guess? So, when it comes to Psykers, the dangers of being a Psyker, the dangers of using psychic powers are considerable. Psyker grade examples, witch sight, anti-Psyker weapons. What I want to find is the consequences of it. But this is still grades. So I know that there are some consequences to Psykers. For example, the biggest ones are things like possession. So any Psyker who is connected to the warp, as Psykers tend to be, can be influenced or even sometimes just controlled directly by any of the demons of the warp. Typically, the more powerful the Psyker is, the more powerful a demon will be on the other side of them. And sometimes they can even use these Psykers as a gateway to transcend the warp and enter our world entirely. However, there's other things that can happen. So it can simply damage you in some way. It could kill you. I've heard of Psykers exploding. Okay, I do not see anything in here directly on, like, just the consequences of Psykers. And I don't know what necessarily the penalty for Psykers in the tabletop game is either. So if I do a quick little search for Psyker... And I'm going to say backfire. Psykers are broken. That's stuff from Dark Tides. That's from Rogue Trader. Psyker Brain Burst? No, not going to be that. Alright, so I'm going to just go with my own stuff here. I'm going to go with my own list. And we're going to work with this. And I may add to it as I go. So the way this is going to work is... every time you use your psychic powers, there's always a chance that something can go wrong. So... oh, wait, hold on. Jeffrey's asking, did I ever cover the Death Corps of Krieg? They would fall under the Imperial Guardsmen. No, I did not cover the Death Corps of Krieg. Nor did I cover the Catachan Warriors, nor did I cover the Soldiers of Cadia. I did not cover any of the specific, the specific detachments in the Imperial Guard. And the reason why is because I just don't have the time. Just like with the Tau, there's all kinds of different detachments in the Tau. I didn't cover those. When it came to the Tau, the only reason I covered the different castes is because every caste is like really different on an individual level. Like when it comes to playing the miniatures game, you would install a detachment and just say, I need this detachment because it does X. And that's fine, that's great. If you want to have like aircraft, they're going to have air cast in them. If you put soldiers on the ground, they're going to have fire warriors. If you have mechs, they might have earth cast in them. And that's great for the tabletop game. Or for the miniature game, rather. For the role-playing game that we're making, though, there needs to be more of a focus on like the individual character and what makes them different, which is why I had to go through and do each of the castes. For the Imperial Guard, that's not really as important. And what detachment of the Imperial Guard you're going to be is really going to depend on, number one, what feats and weapons that you want to take, and number two, just description and flavoring. Now, I do know that the Death Corps of Krieg is different. Okay? I'm going to acknowledge that right at the gate. They are different, and we don't talk about why they're different, because that would be heresy. But I still believe that you could achieve the same goal just by dressing up your character appropriately. I mean, in order to make a Krieg trooper, it's still going to be a human baseline. And we can give all kinds of other details on that, but that's really just flavoring. It's still going to be a human baseline. As for the general overall look, which looks like something out of the trenches of the Soviet Union, that's going to be simple. You'll just buy clothing, and you can write down on your sheet what kind of clothing that is. The gas mask, I do believe we have gas masks. Or if we don't have a gas mask directly, we have something that can be used as an equivalent. Beyond that, Krieg troopers just get pretty standard rifles. I believe they still use ballistics. So we can get you a ballistic gun easily enough. If you want to have a sidearm, you can get you a shovel or an entrenching tool. And if we put all of that together, I think we've made a pretty adequate Krieg trooper. So we don't need to go through it and make stats up for every single different division of the Imperial Guard. We can do that on an individual basis. Kind of like when we did the Eldar, I didn't make stuff for... Right, I didn't make different stat blocks for every single one of the different divisions. We made the, what were they called? The paths, the Ascianari paths. Just because that isn't just like a stat block to differentiate them, but that's actual progression of your character. But there's no like different racial adjustments for a Scorpion warrior or a Harlequin soldier. Just not needed. So yeah. However, if you want to play a Krieg trooper, I look forward to that when we get around to it. Like, we got to finish Star Trek first before we can start something else, but I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be fun. I don't even know how a Krieg trooper would even get onto a team like this. Like, if we're playing something like you're a rogue trader or you're some kind of Inquisition detachment, how does a Krieg trooper even get into that? I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. It'll be an interesting challenge to try and mesh this all together. Okay. So, getting back to this. We need to start making a chart here of consequences. So, for this, I think we're going to call this Psyker Backfire. So, we already established that on a 1, you have to make a will, or this is for every 1 rolled, you have to make a will save. And, how do we want to do this? Well, first off, I think we'll just start working on the actual list of things, and then we'll start assigning values to it. So, let's start with the worst things that can happen, because there's going to be a chance that nothing happens, which is great. Oh, and Jeffrey says, fair, but I love that challenge. Yeah, I love that challenge too. Like, it took me a while to do it, but in the Star Trek game that I'm currently running, I did manage to finally blend everybody's backstory and everybody's future campaign into one cohesive story. Again, improvisation, it's my strong suit. I'm good at this kind of thing. Okay, so we're going to start with the most dangerous things. And let's see. The most dangerous thing that could happen to a Psyker would be a complete transposition. So, transposition. And how we're going to do this, I don't know. So the idea of transposition is very simple. Instead of your Psyker being controlled by a demon, the demon literally uses their brain as a direct conduit to the material world. They literally split the skull open and claw their way out through the mangled remains of their body. And now you have a demon. So, how do we want to do this? The first thing that I want to do is I actually want to check on, and actually I'm going to do this in 2 places. I actually want to check on the bestiaries to see what kind of demons that I have to work with. Let's start with Starfinder and see what we've got. So creatures by type. Constructs, dragons, magical beasts, monsters, humanoids, oozes, outsiders. Outsiders might be what I want here. Subtypes. Here we go. Demons. Alright, so creatures, subtype, graps. No, this is just the stats that go with them. Yeah, I don't necessarily want this. Let's go back to Pathfinder. I don't want to have to make a whole bunch of demons, is my problem. If there is an easier way for me to do this, then I want to. So, sorted by type. Now, these even have the same things. Never mind then. Why don't we go back to the Starjammer one here. And instead of look at the subtypes, we'll look at outsiders. Okay, so here's all of our outsiders, and there's a few of them. We're not going to go through these like exclusive or exhaustively because I don't want to, and I don't think I need to. Planar Scions. No. Chitons. I remember those. I think those are neutral, actually. So, angels are good, demons are evil. Chitons, I believe, are all neutral. Genies are all lawful. Elementals are neutral. Devils. Devils and demons. Okay, here we go. So, we've got a few of them. Not enough to make, like, all the levels, but let's take a look. So, a Babu demon. This is a CR7 demon. Okay. Which is significant. A Baylor is a CR20. Yeah, Baylors are nasty. You wouldn't normally see demons, I don't think, a whole lot in Starfinder, but Baylor demons are one of those things where, like, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, or if you're playing Pathfinder, or whatever, if you're using high-level magic and you're contacting, say, one of the 9 hells, if you make contact with a demon, it very well could be a Baylor. You're not likely to contact a lot of lower demons. A Dretch demon is a CR2. I feel like I should be writing these down. Right here is fine. We'll do this right here. So we've got a 2. The first one was a 7, right? And a 20. The Glabrazu is a 14. The Hezru is an 11. I'm just kind of curious about what my spread here is going to be. Come on, open up. The Merilith is a 17. The Nalfshni? I don't even know. That's a CR 14. Again, we have 2 14s in here. The Pulprex is a 13. The Quasit is a 2. So we've got 2 2s now. Hold on. Why did my mouse stop? Oh, come on. Don't do this to me right now. You piece of garbage. Oh, I hate this computer so much. Alright, hold on a second. I can fix this. For some reason, the drivers on this computer are just absolute trash. They will just stop working whenever they feel like it. And I do not understand why. There we go. And then I just have to reinitialize the drivers and everything works. It does not make sense. Succubus is a 7. So we have 2 7s now. And a Varrock is a CR9. Okay. Can I reorder these? Yes, I can, actually. So that's our spread for demons. And I wonder about devils. Let me take a look. So a Barb Devil is a CR12. A Bearded Devil is a CR5. A Bone Devil is a CR9. And the reason that I do this is because if we're going to transposition a demon, it has to be within a certain level. An Endbringer is 19. The Aranis is a CR8. No, not that. Oh, you will not stop, will you? Format cells. Text. Thank you. Can we just make it an 8? So that was the Aranis. A Hacker is a 10. The Horned Devil is a 16. The Ice Devil is a 13. Not 136. That would be insane. The Imp is a 2. Not a 2.4, just a 2. Let's see. The Lemure is a CR1. We actually did get a CR1. I was rather hoping I would see a 1. A Pit Fiend, that's a 20. I didn't even need to look at that one. Pit Fiends are 20s. I don't even know why I needed to click on that. And a Warmonger is a CR7. Alright, so that's all of our devils. Now let's see what we've got here. Do we have any kind of good progression? Let's go ahead and order this. Just the current selection. Would you... Cells that contain data, do you want to extend the range? No. Just the current... Okay, can we do it now? Oh, wow, it won't even sort. Alright. Default formatting. Now will you sort? No, no you won't. God damn you. I hate you so much right now. Alright, fine. I'll do it myself. One... let's see. I need to align all of these. Two. Do we have any threes? No. Fours? No. 5. 6. No. 7. There's one 7. 8. There is one 8. 9. There is one 9. 10. There is one 10. 11. No 11. 12. There is one 12. 13. There is one 13. 14. No. 15. No. 16. Yes. 16. 17. No. 18. No. 19. There's a 19. And a 20. Okay. We can delete this data set. Don't need that anymore. So for transposition, do we have a list of like every level? No. No, we do not. We have a 1, 2s, no 3, no 4. We have 5, no 6. We have 7s, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14s, no 15. We have a 16, 17, no 18, but we have a 19, and 2 20s. However, we have enough here that we could make our own list. So, I mean, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we can totally make a list. So we're going to make a demon list. Okay, we're gonna make a demon list. So at level 1, that was the Lemure. Yeah. So this will be a Lemure. Devil, technically. As for the 2s, we'll go back up to the demons. And a Quasit, I believe, is level 2? Yeah. So we'll grab a Quasit. We'll grab a Quasit Demon. Level 3, we don't have one. We don't have a 3 or a 4, so we're going to have to fill in with the other level 2s. And I'm not sure how, or if there's a particular way we want to do this. So, was it you? No, not you. Okay, a Dretch. There's a Dretch Demon. Oh, and also, this is going to be, 1, 2, not 20, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Bring that all the way down to 20. Alright, so that's that. Now, what was the level 2? Was it the Imp? Yeah. So, Imp, Devil. Level 5. I don't remember what that was, but it was one of the devils. Was it a horned devil? No. Ice? No. Bone? No, it's a 9. No, not you. That's 19. That's 10. Warmonger? No, that's 7. Which one of you was the level 5? Ah, the Bearded. Okay. So, Bearded Devil. And we don't have a 6, so we're going to have to borrow one of the other 7s. And we've got a couple of options. I want to stick mostly to demons because they are technically chaos demons. So we'll grab the 2 level 7 demons instead. As soon as I find out what those were. One of them is the Babu. And not a Baylor. Not a Dretch. No. 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 No, not you, obviously. Ah, the Succubus. Okay. So, Succubus Demon. Level 8 is Devils. Which one was it? No, not you. Not you. Not you. Ah, here we go. The Aranus. Aranus. There we go. Devil. 9 takes us back to the demon list. It was not you. Ah, here we go. It's the Vrock Demon. Ten is going to come from the Devil list. And I should probably remember which one it was, but I don't. Not you. Not you. Not you. No, wait, that was it. The Hacker Demon. So, Hacker Demon. And this is just going to be a list. So, whatever level you happen to be will determine what comes out if you hit transposition. So, at level 11, we go back to the demon list. Not you. Not you. Here we go. The Hezru Demon. Not Hex. 12 is a Devil. No, we just did you. We just did the Hacker as well. ice is 13. Here is 7. Wait. No, that was it. The Barbed Devil. So, Barbed Devil. At 13, we have a demon available to us, so that's good. Not the Baylor, not the Dretch. No, we already got that one. The Glabrazu. Yeah, we're on 14, right? No, we're on 13. But we'll remember the Glab is 14. Here we go. The Pulp Rex. So the Pulp Rex Demon for level 13s. 14 is going to be that Glab thing. The Glabrazu. And since we don't have a 15, we'll grab the other CR14. Which was you? Yes. The Nalfschnee. I didn't name these things. That brings us to 16. That's going to be a devil. Because we already have one of those. Let's say it's you? Yeah, Horned Devil. 17, we have a demon for that. And that's going to be... No, not you. You're 7, not 17. Here we go. The Merilith. We don't have an 18, though. So I'm not sure what we're going to put in here. Because we got to find something. And I don't know what it's going to be. I'll have to find something later for that. It's either that or I put the other demons in here. Like I could put 19 in the 18 slot. And then the other level 20s. Actually, let's go ahead and do that. I mean, by the time you're getting to this, if you can't handle it, that's going to be on you. I'm not really playing around here. This is one instance where I guess, yeah, you're right. I am trying to kill you. Alright, so Devils. Who was the level 19? No, not you. Not you. Nope, that was you. So that's the Endbringer. Endbringer Devil. After that, we have the Pit Fiend. Because, you know, demon. And the last one is... Oh, no, wait, that was the devil. The last one is a Baylor, right. Actually, I'm going to put Baylor here. Baylor Demon and Pit Fiend Devil. Okay, then. So that's going to be our transposition list. And this is going to be Psyker level and Demon Devil. So, yeah. Transposition list. So, let's say that you are using your psychic abilities, you roll your dice, you are like a high-level psyker, you roll 10 d4s, and at level 10, that would make you an Eta class. So, you roll 10 d4s, and you get 3 1s, which is not bad. It's not bad. But you roll 10 d4s, you roll 3 1s. That means you gotta make 3 will saves. Each one of them is a DC 10. And so, you roll a 10, you roll a 13, and you roll a 2. Well, if you only had like a if you only had, let's be really generous here and say you have a full or an 18 in wisdom, and the class that you chose also gives you a +2 to your will save, so you got 6. Well, 2 plus 6 is only 8. You fail. Therefore, you have to roll on the Psyker backfire list. And when you roll on the Psyker backfire list, whatever the die happens to be, you rolled a 1, which is a transposition, at which point your head bursts open and this Lemure devil comes out. This is going to do 2 things. Number 1, it's going to kill your character. So, like, I can't really express how dangerous this is going to be being a Psyker, because there are going to be some things that are going to be just like instant death. Not necessarily every time, but like if you fail these will saves, it is essentially a will save versus possible death. On top of that, we are essentially replacing your character with a hostile NPC. In this case, a Lemure is just a small little devil. So it's evil, it's lawful, it has a whole 20 hit points. It's not exactly difficult to beat. It really doesn't even have any, it doesn't have any abilities. Other abilities, it's mindless. I mean, they don't have anything. They just kind of tear whatever apart in front of them. They do have a damage resistance, so I mean, that's a thing. And they're also resistant to anything acid or cold, and they're immune to fire and poison, so firing lasers at it probably ain't going to do much. But that's going to be common across all demons and devils. Almost all demons and devils are going to be resistant or straight up immune to fire. And that means that if we come back and we look at like the Imperial Guard stuff, the Lass Rifle, the Humble Lass Rifle, does fire damage. So does the Last Pistol. The Hell Gun, fire damage. The Long Last is just another last gun. It does fire damage. The Melt-A-Guns do fire damage. You can throw all of this stuff at these demons and it's not going to hurt them. So, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we bring along things like bolt guns. Because when we look at bolts, I mean, bolts are a lot. So your standard bolt does piercing damage. The Inferno bolts do fire damage, so I mean, they can kind of shrug those off a little bit, but everything else, it's just going to do a ton of damage. So yeah, keep that in mind. So transposition, possibly the or pretty much the worst thing that could happen. What's worse than that, though? Well, the next worst thing would be exploding. And how do we tell how much of an area and how much damage that you do when you do explode? I do believe that I could say, you know, roughly 1 foot per level of sensitivity, which means that you would cap out at a radius of 16 feet. So, that'd be capping out at 4 squares around you. Which is a pretty significant area, and then it'll do damage. So, yeah, I think that will work. That means that if you explode and you're anywhere from a moo down, you're only actually a threat to yourself. Once you hit lambda at 6 feet, you're now reaching into the next square. And so, yeah, then it's just a 5 foot radius, so it's just a 9 square block. And it would go up from there. So I'm going to go ahead and say explode. Radius equals sensitivity. And I'm going to go ahead and say a reflex save. Reflex DC. Do I want to also tie that into sensitivity? Yeah, I'm going to say reflex DC sensitivity for half damage if you happen to be within range. Just like any other fireball. So I think that should be good. Oh, and Jeffrey says, how is everybody else's days? My day is actually going really well. I mean, I got good sleep last night, and I got some breakfast in me this morning, and everything is going well, and I'm excited to be doing this. Because I look forward to this all week. You have no idea what a burden it is to not be able to sit down and just kind of do all of this at once. Because I would literally start on this in the morning, work on it all day, go to sleep, get up in the morning, and do it some more. Okay, so, next worst things to happen. Death is probably going to be the next worst thing to happen. So, with death, I mean, it's just death. So, just death. You are dead. You're dead, but you didn't explode. And it's like, it's not even that you did damage to yourself, it's just you're dead, okay? You went from being alive with like 27 hit points to now you're not alive with 27 hit points. You're just dead. It's over. Okay, so transposition kills you and it creates an entirely new thing that the party has to fight. If you explode, you're dead. And you might have done damage to everybody else around you. But it's not like they have to fight it. It was a one and done thing. If you're dead, you're just dead. It only affects you. Your character is gone. So then, what's the next worst thing? I think the next worst thing has to be possession. So, for possession, I don't think that we have that spell in Starjammer, but it is absolutely a spell in Pathfinder. So, I'm just going to check spells here. Nope, it's not on this list. If it's not on the Mystic list, it's probably not going to be on the Technomancer list either, so we're not going to do that. Instead, Detect Charm, Retrieve Item, Object Possession, Writing Possession. Here we go, Possession. Okay. So Possession is already a spell here, and I think that we can use this. So it says, you attempt to possess a creature by projecting your soul into its body. The target creature must be within spell range, and you must know where it is, though you do not need line of sight or line of effect to it. When you transfer your soul upon casting, your body appears to be dead. Failure to take over the host body ends the spell. If you are successful, your life force occupies the host body. The host soul is imprisoned within you. But they can still use their own senses, though it cannot assert any influence or even use purely mental abilities. You can communicate telepathically with the host as if you shared a common language, but only with your consent. You get to keep your intelligence, wisdom, charisma, your level, class, base attack bonus, base save bonus, your alignment, and your mental abilities. The body retains its strength, dexterity, constitution, hit points, natural abilities, and automatic abilities. A body with extra limbs doesn't allow you to make more attacks or more advantageous two-weapon attacks than normal. You can't activate the body's extraordinary or supernatural abilities, nor can you cast any of its spells or spell-like abilities, because you don't know how to. As a standard action, you can freely ship back to your own body, but let's face it, demons are not going to be doing that. And then, of course, there's a possession greater. It's the same thing, except your body simply disappears, but we're talking about demons, so they're already on the other side of the warp. There's no body to worry about. It's already basically greater possession. So, you lose your character. Your character isn't dead, though. And if we could exorcise the demon from your character, you would get your character back, which is what's going to make this better than just being dead. You're not dead. You could get your character back. The odds of it are pretty slim, though. So, possession, better than death, slightly. Oh, PC Unicorn's in the chat. Hello. It says, my character, he's not dead, he's just sleeping. I mean, kinda. There's actually a lot of spells that do that. So, possession, you leave your body behind. Astral projection, you leave your body behind. Anything that involves you being asleep, you leave your body behind. There's a lot of spells where you're just kind of like leaving yourself at the mercy of whatever happens to find you. Okay, so getting back to this. So possession, there's a chance that you could die because your party might turn around and kill you. Similarly, I'm going to go ahead and put the burn here, and I'm just going to say backfire. And that is your spell retargets to you. So if you were trying to use fire against somebody, you're going to do all that fire damage to yourself. If you were trying to control somebody's mind, it's going to retarget to you, which means that you might end up controlling your own mind. I don't know. If you were trying to like do a combat maneuver to push somebody, you might end up pushing yourself backwards. I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and start putting stuff in here. So, destroy character, summon demon. The explode. I'll go ahead and cut that. I'll paste that in there. Death. You die. Very simple. Possession. Lose control of your character. Backfire, your spell retargets to you. Now, that means that next is going to be insanity. Now, I was just looking at this. So, insanity, the duration is instantaneous. But this is forever. This does not have a limit on it. So, insanity is a permanent confusion. Which means that the lesser version of this would just be confusion, which would be momentary. And this is going to be equal to it lasts a number of rounds equal to the Okay. How do I want to phrase this to be the most concise possible? I guess just, last a number of rounds. Well, no, I'm not even going to do this. I'm just going to say, it's going to be sensitivity D star rounds. So, if you are only like a Mu level Psyker and you happen to confuse yourself, you'd be rolling 5 D4s at level 1, and that means that it would last a maximum of 20 rounds, which is 2 minutes. 2 minutes of confusion. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. So there's a lot of really nasty consequences here. However, it's not going to be just consequences. There's not going to be any good things that happen here. However, nothing could happen. So here's what we're going to do. First off, I need to make sure that this is all text. So format cells. I don't want numbers. I want text. Otherwise, it's going to do all kinds of weird things. All right. So transposition is going to be a 1. Actually, you know what? I can literally copy it from here. Because this is what I'm going to do. Alright, so you roll a 1, and you get transposition. 2 and 3, you explode. 4 through 6, you die. 7 through 10, and so it's weighted, so the more severe things are less likely to happen. 7 through 10 is possession, 11 through 15 is backfire, 16 through 21 is insanity, 22 through 28 is confusion. Now, that means that this one I want this to be a roughly 1/3 chance of something bad happening. So 28 times 3 is 84. So I'm going to change this 36 to an 84. And just say nothing happens. So you have a 1/3 chance of something really bad happening to you if you do this. I can delete this now. I'm going to move all of this up a little bit. And that should take care of that. So there's a very good chance that even if you fail your will save, you should be fine. And you can breathe a sigh of relief that, you know, even though you lost control, you failed, you're still alive, and nothing else bad happened. It's just, if you roll into that higher area. But I think that's good. And because of the list that we made here, everything that happens to you should be manageable. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best thing ever, because let's face it, if you're using your psychic powers, you're probably in the middle of combat already, and the last thing that you really want is for one of these demons to pop up in the middle of a fight that you're already probably losing. And you're going to be one person down because of it. So now we actually have to get into working on the actual psychic powers. So we got the consequences yet, but what can you do with them? And I think what we need to establish here is, what is the range of powers that you can use, and how are we going to really model this? And JP says, should be manageable. Can you qualify that? I actually can, because I took it directly from the book. So, like, each one of these is the appropriate CR rating. In fact, for the imp, it's well below the CR rating. But the idea of a CR rating is it's supposed to be a challenge for 4 players of the same level. So, like a Lemure Devil. This should be an adequate encounter. Let's see, it's going to be over here? No. Here. No? Hold on. Bestiary. I want creatures by type. I want outsiders. I want devils, and I want the Lemure. So, you are in the Star Trek game, you know what a level 1 character looks like. The Lemure Devil has 20 hit points. Okay, that's roughly on par with what most of my players have. Most of my players, between their stamina points and their actual hit points, have about 20, give or take. An armor class of about 12. Technically, it's 11 for energy and 13 for kinetics, but it averages to about 12. Most of my players have a higher AC than 12, and hitting 12 for them is not terribly difficult. Depending on who they are and what they're using, that's a coin toss at the worst. For a lot of them, the advantage is absolutely in their side. And it only moves at 20 feet, which means that they can outrun this thing rather easily. So what makes this thing a challenge? Well, it's these resistances. So it has a damage resistance of 5, which means that all the damage that you do, you can shave 5 right off of it. You have to do 6 damage to do 1 damage. Now that's pretty significant right there, because nobody has good weapons yet. That means about the only person in the Star Trek game that is going to do any damage to this thing would be Gradrock, because he can hit things really hard. For everybody else, though, how many people have some kind of laser weapon? Well, this thing is immune to fire. And as we just showed, most of the Imperial Guard's weapons are fire-based. So you can't use any of that against it. And it resists acid and cold. I don't know that anybody has acid or cold weapons, but that means that nobody that has a laser weapon can do anything about this thing. Or, in the case of Star Trek, nobody who has a phaser weapon can do anything about this. And I do believe that one person has a phaser. It's useless now. This thing doesn't move very fast, but it's very tough, it's very resistant. And it can just keep coming after you until you knock the thing down. It also does 1d6 plus 5 damage if it gets its hands on you. This is not something that you want to take lightly in melee combat. However, melee combat may be the only way to take it down. It resists energy. That leaves physical. Piercing, bludgeoning, slashing. This would be an adequate challenge for a level 1 party. It's not likely that anyone's going to die, but there's a chance. There's absolutely a chance that it could happen. For level 2, we just look for like a Quasit. That's a devil. Let's look at a Quasit demon. So for a Quasit, this thing has 23 hit points. It's not that much more, right? It's only 3 more hit points. It has an average armor class of about 13, so it's just 1 higher than the last one. It also has a damage resistance of 5. It's immune to electric and poison, and it resists acid, cold, and fire. As a matter of fact, it's not immune to fire, but it resists 10 fire. You have to do 11 damage to do 1 damage. So we're right back to we're right back to doing melee damage this thing. Piercing, slashing, bludgeoning. It's still got speed of 20, so it's not that fast, but it can fly. Perfect flight. It has claw attacks. Okay. It does 1d4 plus 1 slashing damage, which isn't much for a level 2. Oh, plus poison. So it is still, it's tiny, there's not really a whole lot there, but it does have spellic abilities. So Psychokinetic Hand, or Invisibility. That's right, it can turn invisible. That's going to be fun for you. And does it list anything about the poison? Ah, here we go, Quasit Venom. It's an injury type, fortitude save DC 13. The frequency is once per round for 6 rounds, and it requires 2 consecutive saves. And while it's doing damage, it's on the dexterity track. Which means that the longer you're exposed to the venom, the lower your armor class gets, because your dexterity is going down. That's what the CR is for. It's going to present you a challenge, and if you're already in a fight and your Psyker happens to pop one of these out, you're all going to be lamenting the fact that he's dead because you're going to want to kill him yourself. Yeah, it's not going to be a good day. Okay then, so we have the consequences for failing your will saves. If you're going to be a Psyker, I recommend having really high wisdom. But that's okay, because like before we even pick the class for your character, we'll do this kind of by the books, where you'll sit down and you might have an idea of what race you want to play, but we'll sit down, we'll roll your stats, your ability scores, and we'll roll your Psyker potential at the same time. That way, if your character happens to be a Psyker, you can put the extra points that you need into wisdom for your will save. Otherwise, it might be a little unfair if I was to spring that on the players and just say, well, you used wisdom as your dump stat, but turns out you're a really good Psyker, so, yeah, good luck. I think that would be just a little unfair. Alright, I'm going to put a box around this just to kind of separate this off. There we go. Alright, now, let's get into actual psychic powers. So, the first and most obvious psychic power is going to be energy release. And let's see, JP says, my tongue can be scathing. Sha'al would leave emotional damage. I bet that he would. Not saying that a tongue lashing is going to kill you, but there's a chance. And then singing, Skibbity-doo, I perceive you, now here's what we're gonna do. And now the song is stuck in my head. You're on my shit list now. That is gonna be in there all day. Of course, that does mean that it actually replaced the Chibi Chibi Choppa Choppa song. So I take it back. You're back off the shit list. I think I'd rather this one. Alright, so back to the powers. We have energy release. And that's going to be very simple. All we need for energy release is to be able to pick the type of energy that you want to release, and then the shape of the energy release, and you can direct it from there. So after energy release, the next thing that we need, and let's go ahead, let's go back and check on this. Nope, not that one. So when we look at these, Biomancy Discipline. First of all, Smite. Lethal bolts of bio lightning leap from your fingertips. That's part of energy release. The next is going to be Iron Arm, which transmutes their flesh into living metal. Enfeeble, which saps vitality from people. Endurance. Endurance is both healing and banishes fatigue. Life Leech is exactly that. So I can't really just say Biomancy, because Biomancy is all over the place. It really is. It's all over the place. Divination, I will, I'll have to get into that. And JP says energy release equals inflict wounds. Yeah, but there may be different ways to inflict wounds. So how do I want to do this? Oh, and JP also says, like Palpatine, Bio/Force Lightning. Exactly. That's literally it. And so the reason why I'm going to be doing it this way is because I want people to be able to pick the shape of their energy. So, for example, like Palpatine, when he used his Force Lightning, he usually cast a line of lightning at somebody. Or actually, it's more like a ray, because it usually stopped with one target. I mean, when we say a line, it usually implies that it goes through things. So technically, it'd be like a ray. He would use like a ray of lightning. But I need people to be able to pick. It's like, do you want to do a ray of lightning? Do you want to do a line of lightning? Do you want to do a burst of lightning in front of you, like a cone? Or a burst like a circle? So that's what we're working on right now. Obviously, first, our energy releases will need a type. They'll need a shape. So the type is going to be fire, cold, electric, acid, or sonic. And the shape is, of course, going to have to be ray, line, cone, and burst. Now, where you put that burst, we'll have to work on. So the question now is, how do we assign, like, distances to these? Because if I just make this equal to sensitivity, then what's the point of casting a ray over a line? They both do the same thing. So what I think we're going to do for this is, I think for the ray, it's going to be a single target. So single target. And that's it. That's all we need. Single target range equals sensitivity. That's not much though. That means that like even your alpha class can only reach 4 squares. I'm pretty sure that a Ray of Frost goes further than that. Like, I'm literally going to look it up. Ray of Frost. This is one of the most basic cantrips in the game. The range for Ray of Frost is close, and close is 25 feet plus 5 feet for every 2 levels. So all the base range for Ray of Frost is further than what I just wrote down. So I wonder, what are the ranges for these? Can I find out what all the ranges are? Anti-magic, extraordinary abilities, spell-like abilities. No. Duration. Descriptive text? No. Spell resistance. Difficulty class, saving throws, disbelief. Durations, line of effect. Okay, this is something. Bursts and emanations in larger creatures. Oh, here we go. 30-foot lines, 20-foot radii, 15-foot cones. Let's see. Aiming a spell. Range expressed in feet. Ah, here we go. Perfect. So, touch, close, medium, and long. Close is 25 feet away from you, plus 5 for every 2 full caster levels. Medium is 100 feet, plus 10 feet per caster level. Long range is 400 feet, plus 40 feet per caster level. Okay. So, I think I can classify these into simply close, medium, or long range. And so for a ray, I'm just going to say a ray is going to be close range. Now, how am I going to make this balanced? So for close range, it's going to do the maximum amount of damage to a single target. For a line, however, I'm going to go ahead and say the line is going to be medium. So I'm going to say medium range, and I'm going to reduce the damage. So I'm going to go ahead and say damage divided by 2. Alright, so half damage, but you can hit multiple characters with it. Next. So we have rays, we have spreads. No, we don't want spread. Burst, emanation, or spread. Cones, okay. So a cone spell shoots away from you in a quarter circle direction that you designate. It says nothing, however, about your about what it does to the damage. Alright, so a cone... I'm going to go ahead and say the cone... How are we going to do this? The cone has got to be related to your sensitivity because most cones max out at like 30 feet. That's like the largest cone I think I've ever seen. And yeah, they even show that right here. This is a 30-foot cone. You know, I do wonder if maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Perhaps I should be tying this into the levels. Like, for example, up here, we have already set up, you get D4s at level 1 through 4, D6 at level 1 through 5. Perhaps I should be tying it to this. So that once you level up enough, not only does your die go up, but you also get to, choose these things. Okay, let's work on that a little bit. Let's see how this pans out. So, what do I want to call this? Let's just call this Psyker effect. And so we'll put damage, and that will be D4. So now if I say ray, I can call this close range. If I say line, what if I do this? What if I say line? Oh no, wait, hold on a second. I just had a moment. I just had a thought. Let's get rid of that. Okay? Let's get rid of that. Okay. I got this. So effect, shape, range, and strength. Okay? I'm gonna call it that. So, for Ray, it's going to be close range, and it's going to be a strength of a D4. Alright, here's a line. Line is going to be medium range. I'm just going to say medium. D2. That means that if you want to shoot a line of something and just kind of throw all of that power down, then it's going to have your damage. Now, how about this one? Cone. The range on this is not going to be close, medium, or long. We have 5 levels here. Now, if we knew that the maximum up here is going to be 30, what if we went 30, 25, 20, 15, 10? We could say a 10 A 10-foot cone? Maybe not. Made this 15, because that's usually what it is, 15. I mean, a 10-foot cone is kind of nothing anyway. Because a 10-foot cone would just be, you know, these 4 squares here. It wouldn't reach out to those. A 10-foot cone also here. No, actually, you know what? This works. I take it back. This totally works. That would be just the T right there. And it wouldn't reach to the 3rd line right there. Nope, we're sticking with this. Cone, 10 foot. And D2. And that means we're going to do the same thing with the burst. So burst is going to be a 5-foot radius. And also D2s. So, if it's single target, you get the full benefit of your D4s. If it's multiple targets, you're going to drop down to D2s. Now, that is going to be a little bit tricky when we get into other abilities. But for right now, I think this is going to work. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this over here, because I'm going to need a little bit of room to work. So that means that we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. Oh, and something I have to put into this. This is going to be a medium range. Because it's not an explosion on yourself. It's you literally like reaching out like Roy Mustang, snap your fingers, and boom, right there. And I missed the burst on there. Okay, so let's go into this again. This is going to be close range as well. And the strength is going to be a D6. JP says, any chance of an energy release that has any positive effect possibilities? Could you maybe heal those surrounding you, like an AoE heal or buff? Yes! We're going to get to that. We already established when we were looking at the... No, not this one. Here. When we were looking at the biomancy, so Iron Arm transmutes flesh into metal. That's a fancy way of saying it's going to give you natural armor. So, we will be able to target a certain number of people and give them natural armor. Now, how much armor we're going to give them, I haven't worked out yet. The same thing with endurance. Reaching into the metabolic essence of their allies, the Biomancer knits together bones, heals flesh, banishes fatigue so that they can carry on the fight. Right there, we're going to be able to heal people. The real question is, how much? My immediate thought is that you'll just roll your dice as normal, and then I'll allow you to divide up the healing to whoever needs it. So, let's say that we have our Mu class Psyker here, okay? Your power is kind of negligible. You only get 5 per day. And then... Do I still have a dice roller on my phone? I don't think I do. Yeah, I think I got rid of the dice roller on my phone. Okay, well, never mind. I just pull up Roll20. I'm not going to go ahead and get into OBS, but... Oh, come on. Let me into Roll20. Oh, you have to verify that I'm a person? What are you suggesting? That I'm not people? Racist. Okay, so let's say that we have like a level 1 Moo Psyker, which is not very powerful. That means that, let's say that they wanted to use the endurance ability. So that means I get to roll 5d4 for healing. I rolled a 3, 2, 2, 2, and 2, so that's 11. That means that my Moo Psyker would have 11 hit points that they could heal. And then I'm going to go ahead and say that within a certain area, like maybe it's close range, they can distribute those healing points to whoever they want. So this person gets some, this person gets some, this person gets some, so long as they're within range. And that takes care of like the AoE heal part, because it has to be within a certain range. It also takes care of the healing part. And since I didn't roll any ones, I don't have to make any will saves. But that will come later. For right now, I just want to get this into place. So for a line, this is going to be medium and D3. For the cone, this will be a 15-foot cone, also a D3. And for the burst, this will be medium range and a 10-foot burst, 10-foot radius, also a D3. Next would be, well, I guess I could have done a better job of moving these. So I'll put that there, and then that goes there. So next, for the ray, it's going to be close range and a D8. The line is still going to be medium and D4s. The cone is going to be 20 feet and D4s, and the burst will be medium range, 15-foot radius, and D4. PC Unicorn says in Oprah's voice, "You get some healing, you get some healing, everybody's getting healing today!" Unfortunately, they all have to pay tax on it, so they all have to give the healing back. God, that was dumb. Okay, so the ray, this is going to be just close, and it's going to be the full D10. The line will be medium. And D5s. Which, I mean, a five-sided die is not a real die. However, it's really easy to roll a D5 with a D10. You just count by twos. So, 2 is 1, 4 is 2, 6 is 3, and so on. So, we can totally still roll that even with real die. I try to avoid using virtual die when I can because it makes things kind of weird. But these things happen. So for the cone, it's going to be 25 feet, and a D5. And for the burst, medium range, 20-foot radius, and also a D5. And then for the final levels, a ray will still be close, but the strength will be a D12. The line will still be medium, but D6s. The cone will be 30 feet, D6s, and the burst will still be medium. A 25-foot radius, which, I mean, you gotta realize that with a 25-foot radius, you essentially pick an intersecting line, and then you just count out 5 squares in pretty much all directions. It's huge. Well, not in all directions. You don't count them diagonal, but, you know, up and across. You count out 25, and you make that into a circle. It's bonkers. It's huge. And this, of course, will be D6s as well. So, that should take care of the energy release. So you get to pick your type of energy, whatever you want it to be. And I'm going to put something here because I don't want to... I don't like the idea that you're like holding your hand forward and you're shooting acid. This is going to be disintegrating. Okay, so basically you're just going to rip things apart at the molecular level. However, disintegrating weapons are still classified as they're still classified as acid weapons when it comes to things like damage resistances and such. So copy. Nope, undo that. There. Well, actually, no. I do want it down here. So this is going to be level 1 through 4. Level 5 through 8. Level 9 through 12. Level 13 through 16. And level 17 through 20. And then I can just format painter this. Now, the next thing that I have to do, and I'm basically out of time, so I'm not actually going to do it this time. JP says enfeeblement ray. Yes. Because essentially anything that you can do for yourself, you should be able to do the opposite to them. So if we have like the iron skin, okay? So I can give everybody within a certain area, +1 natural armor. I should be able to do this, the opposite to the enemy. So if I can give us +1 natural armor, I should be able to strip 1 armor from them as well. So you can do one, the other, or even both if you want to dedicate 2 turns to it. I mean, it is your psychic powers. You get a limited number of them per day. So this is energy release. And that's all we really need there. The next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need some kind of I think we're going to need healing / restoration. We will need to have buffing and debuffing. We'll need to have combat maneuvers, because that's something that I was also thinking about. Like, we have a whole list of combat maneuvers. Let's see, Starjammer, here we go. So, combat. So, combat maneuvers. When we look at combat maneuvers, what do we see? We've got Bull Rush. So you knock a target back 5 feet plus 5 additional feet for every 5 by which the result of your attack roll exceeds the target's kinetic armor class +8. If there's an obstacle in the way, they stop the obstacle as well. That is just push. And I cannot believe that a Psyker would not be able to simply shove somebody with psychic power. If you can conjure lightning, I'm sure you can just conjure force. Dirty Trick. You make an unorthodox attack to briefly hinder the target. It could be throwing sand in their eyes, jamming a rock in actuators, or any other improvised action. Your target is blinded, deafened, entangled, off-target, shaken, or sickened, your choice, for 1 round, plus an additional round for every 5 you exceed. There's also disarming. So you knock the item the target is holding out of their hands and onto the ground. If you have a free hand, you can automatically grab the item with your hand before it falls. I'm sorry, am I the only one thinking like Jedi here? Reach out and rip the weapon out of their hands. And if your hands are free, you can probably just catch the weapon and then shoot them with it. Or stab them with it, I don't know. Grappling. I may ban grappling from this because I don't see how it's really going to work. Especially since I don't want anyone to be able to grapple somebody at range. Reposition, though. You change the target's position to a different location still within your reach and within 5 feet of its original placement. You can move the target 5 additional feet for every 5 by which your result exceeds the attack roll +8, but all movement must remain within your reach. Now that one I'm okay with, because your range is going to be like probably medium, maybe close. But even if it's close, I mean, close starts at 25 feet. So if you can move them 5-10 feet, then great. Same thing with Sunder. If you try to sunder their weapon or armor, maybe not. Maybe we might skip Sunder. Tripping somebody, though. Yeah, you can absolutely trip somebody. Covering fire, probably not. Maintain a spell, no. Dismiss a spell, no. Feint? Don't think that's really going to fall into Psyker territory. Same with fight defensively, same with harrying fire, total defense, special abilities, move action, no. But yeah, I mean, some of these, absolutely. So, trip, reposition, disarm, bull rush. Any of those, I think, will be available for psychic abilities. So, combat maneuvers that we'll need. And that should do it, I think. There's also the divination stuff that we'll get into. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So, divination. And I don't know why I'm leaving spaces between all of this. There's also going to be, because we got pyromancy here, telekinesis is essentially going to be the combat maneuvers, but that leaves telepathy. And telepathy could be anything from just massive influence to literal mind control. So we got to figure out how we're going to balance that. I think really the way it's going to be balanced is just because for most Psykers, it's not going to be that hard to resist. At least I don't think it would be. So by and large, when I think about the DCs for these, I'm thinking about making the DC whatever you roll. That means that, for example, when I rolled for our Mu class Psyker, I rolled an 11. So a DC 11 to resist mind control. That's like super easy. However, consider this. Your Alpha class. I mean, a level 1 Alpha class Psyker, if it wanted to mind control somebody, that would be a will save versus 16d4. That is a DC of 39 at level 1. I think that maybe they're mind controlled. However, we have to understand that an Alpha class Psyker is a planetary threat. Them being able to mind control somebody, I think they can handle it. So, we will work on that more when we come back here next time because I am out of time today. I want to do more, but I don't want this stream to be 6 hours long. Because that's probably how long it would take to finish it up. I mean, I'm game for it. I don't think you are. I don't think anybody brought enough snacks for that. So, what we'll do is when we come back next time, we will get back to work on these. The energy release was easy. Things only get harder from here. Like, healing should be easy as well. Healing and restoration. But when it comes to things like buffing, debuffing, telepathy, divination, those are going to be super complicated. We'll figure it out, though. If you want to see what they look like, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon. That way you get notified the next time this stream comes out. Later on this month, I'm going to have to miss a tabletop stream. It's not next week. I don't think it's the week after that. I think it might be 3 weeks from now, but I'll check my calendar and let people know. I hate missing tabletop streams, but unfortunately it's just not going to be possible. So I will have more information on that later on. If you know somebody who would enjoy this, if they play Warhammer, if they play Pathfinder or Starfinder, if they're just into tabletop games in general, then share this video with them because they'll probably enjoy it. I can't guarantee it, but they probably will. If you just like me, though, you like what I'm doing, leave a like on the stream. Leave a like on the video afterwards, however you want to do it. If you want to leave a comment down below, that's great. If you want to leave comments on the Discord server, that's better. So I'm imploring that you join the Discord server. There's a link in the description. If the link doesn't work, leave a comment down below. I will get you a new link that does work, guaranteed. And if you want to play with us, you have to join that Discord server. You join the server, you go to the behind the screen channel, leave me your availability, and I will find a group for you. And once we have a group, we can begin. So, if you're interested in playing, do all of that. If you're just interested in the streams, then I will see you next time when we work on the Psykers some more. And until then, take care.